Hi, and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understanding. Today's topic contains some of the most important things that we could ever learn about and heal after being narcissistically abused. How to repair our finances, how to get up and go again after we've lost so much, been smashed to pieces, and most possibly have to start our life again financially from scratch. This, I want to tell you, all of this is more than possible. And in today's video, I'm going to explain to you in simple clarity how to turn it all around, exactly how to heal your financial situation after narcissistic abuse, no matter what that situation is. Because that is the necessity for so many people in this community. Men and women of all ages who've lost so much during and after narcissistic abuse. And the sad thing is many people never recover financially, and they're traumatized and tormented that the narcissist took away the best years of their life and believe often that there's no way to rebuild their life now. And maybe because of the case of child maintenance payments, they're suffering the cruel fate of years of having to hand over outrageous amounts of money. And of course, some people decide to really scale back their life rather than feeling raped and pillaged financially by the narcissist and the authorities that the narcissist enlisted every time they try to get their life going. It can be really awful for people. And I want to start you at the start about this, and I'm going to share my story because even though I haven't suffered all of the financial hardship aspects through narcissistic abuse, I did suffer a lot. And a huge part of my narcissistic abuse experience was to do with my security consciousness, which was really skew with. It was not at all healthy, and it took a huge hit, as our insecurities do with narcissistic abuse. And I'm confident that by sharing my story with you, that this is going to help you know that there is hope to heal the financial trauma and the terror and resentment the financial loss brings with narcissistic abuse. Okay, so from the beginning as a child, I was in a family where my father, the strong male role model, took over finances. He was very supportive and he had all the best intentions. Yet as a result of taking over financial matters, trying to protect me and make my life easier, it was really disempowering for me because I didn't believe that I had the confidence to do this myself. And even though I was very successful, I was actually an overachiever in many areas of my life, which really was about trying to source love and approval through others. I was deficient in regards to believing that I could survive financially or generate my life for myself. So my pattern was this: try to seek out powerful love partners who could financially look after me, plan for me, and help support me. And to people on the outside, this neediness seemed crazy because I was good with money. I was earning great money. I was even able to, as a single woman, buy 2 properties outright because of the success I had. Yet on the inside, I was this scared little girl who needed daddy to do it for her. And of course, daddy meant a male who would take control of my life for me. And people would never have believed it, but it was true. And contrary to the logical evidence of what I'd achieved off my own bat, my inner belief systems, I need a man to do this for me and I can't do this alone, were dictating my choices of men. And this is the big thing we need to understand here, that when we have beliefs that are attached to false sources, which means needing to generate results with people and things outside of ourselves, rather than being a direct source with our higher power and the unlimited resources of life as a fullness within us already, then the match for our beliefs that are based on us being not this thing emotionally already that I believe I need from outside of myself to be whole is only ever going to ultimately deliver more of that deficiency. Tiggy TV. I was wondering when you would show up, as you always do. And what this meant was I chose men who appeared to be powerful and supportive and capable of granting me financial prosperity and security, but rather they were the very opposite. They were narcissists, men who would hit me at my weakest point, including my security fears and terrors, and rip them wide open for me. And as a result, I got more of I can't survive alone, because my personal wealth with narcissists was smashed to pieces. I went into relationship with narcissists needing a man to support me and provide me with security, solidness, because I thought that that was the only way I was ever going to feel safe in the world and survive. The truth was I didn't feel safe in the world when I met these men. At the deepest core level of my being, I didn't believe that I could survive on my own. These painful, fearful beliefs were a dull roar of anxiety in my life in the background, probably, about a 4 out of 10. It was my normal. I was used to it. I didn't know that I actually had it. But by the time I was narcissistically abused, which included extreme financial abuse, it was a rip-roaring 11 out of 10. The narcissistic abuse experience fully brought up to the surface what had always required healing in order for me to be free, happy, and self-actualized, living life radiantly, not fearfully dependent on financial security, which is ironically when true prosperity and abundance can flow. And I want to also examine a deeper aspect about this, the incredible, powerful, generational, gender and collective wounds as humans we carry that create our inner makeup. I've met women much more successful than me, even ladies who are CEOs of several companies and worth millions of dollars, who literally feel like when they lose a narcissistic partner that they'll be thrown out of the hut and die of starvation or be killed. And I mean this literally. They believe they can't survive. They're in deep catatonic trauma when he leaves her. And I used to experience that too. Many of you have or are experiencing that. No matter how unemployed or parasitical he was. And no amount of logic for these women. They're looking around themselves at their condominium or their bank account balance or their shares or their assets makes one scrap of difference. Why not? Because deep emotional terror has got nothing to do with logic. It's all to do with deep subconscious programming. And please know that I've got such an itchy nose. And please know that a great deal, I think it's you, Tiggy, you're starting to molt. The programming may be in relation to our forebears. And I know that whenever I work with one of these women within Quantum Freedom healing sessions, that they have deep ancestral programming, deficient beliefs and traumas that I also carried. This sort of stuff, without a man, I am dead. And to get a greater understanding of human history, I urge you, if you don't know about it, to look up what the suffragette movement was and find out why women fought for rights. And it was because many women who were single, who didn't have a man, were not awarded assets. They lost their children. They literally had to accept slave wages, live in group hostels, or prostitute themselves to survive, as well as the other rights that women didn't have. And this is only a blink ago in regard to previous history in so-called civilized countries. It's not even 500 years ago. Is it any wonder that many, many women cling, hand over their money and their assets and pay for the narcissist screw-up, stump him up for this payment or that payment, and she can throw all her personal security into the ring, such as leaving her job, handing over her property, her inheritance, or her superannuation to prove her loyalty and commitment to him. Whatever it takes to try to keep her man attached to her. All because of the inner beliefs, I can't survive without a man. And if it's not this man, I may not get another man. And naturally, this is deadly. And in the case of narcissists, means being emptied out all the way to our demise. And that's exactly what I did in more ways than you can imagine, or maybe you can because you've done it yourself. I did everything financially other than wipe his backside. And so many of us did that. Even when our inner being was screaming at us not to do it, or at the very least, something felt dreadfully off. Because our inner, wounded, terrified, powerless self was screaming louder. Without a man, I'm dead, and I need to hang on to this one because I may not find a replacement. And the incredible irony was the security and the man that we fought so hard for and paid so much for went, or it's going. It all blew up, got ripped away and left us, leaving our life and our shattered identities in the rubble, face to face with our deepest, most primal terrors. Now, I don't want to make this just about women, because this is about men as well. Men do it for different reasons, hand power and finances over. Men try to please and be her champion and make her happy. And if his message when he was growing up was you are not good enough, and you are only loved for what you achieve and what you do, a guy can be emptied out by a female narcissist all the way to his bankruptcy when he's replaying the wounded beliefs that are imprinted into his subconscious of, if I just do more and achieve more and give more, serve more, I'll finally be accepted and loved. And of course, she is never appeased. She's an entitled taker. And of course his anxiety will never lessen, and he'll be chasing his tail, handing over more and more and more, thinking that if she can finally be happy, then he will be happy. But it's really his inner program of no matter what I do, it's not enough to be loved and accepted, his childhood trauma or generational male trauma that is the real culprit here. She is simply fulfilling the validity of that belief with him. She's not the cause of the problem. She's a symptom of it. That's how she was able to show up in his life and provide more of that. If you are in a same-sex relationship, you may see yourself with your partner in either of these scenarios. It can certainly cross over genders. You may in fact be running both of these sets of painful inner beliefs that are setting you up to be crushed financially. So enough of the problem, let's get to the real solution. Of course, it's not about remaining in the trauma of what happened, blaming the narcissist forever, and staying stuck in a lowered, resentful, painful existence, which is victimhood. Initially, this is a stage, but if you don't shift out of it, and the sooner the better, more deterioration and financial loss in your life is likely, because the almighty forces of creation never hear us whinge and pout and shout and stew about our trauma and say, you poor thing, here is your compensation payout. According to quantum law, so within, so without, that's actually impossible. The almighty mechanics of creation, ever present to grant you more of you, are awaiting the version of you will choose to be next. If we leave the faulty belief systems inside us, we're trying to put ice cream on top of poop. It doesn't work. Yet if we reach in, release and shift and change our subconscious programs, then this trauma that we've been living and experiencing changes. Then there is spiritual compensation, including compensation on every topic we reprogram ourselves about. The almighty mechanics which are responding to give you more of you every nanosecond of your life register that in a shift, and they shift. So within, so without, because we're actually calling it forth. This is what happened for me, starting over again at 40 years of age after having lost everything I'd achieved up to that point. I stopped blaming, resenting, and hating how I'd been manipulated, ripped off, lied to, taken advantage of, and financially and maliciously abused. And I also stopped trying to, from a place of panic, start something up to make money, to try to make up lost ground in my shattered state, as an attempt to try to save my broken ego from the horror, fear, and shame of having lost so much. Instead, I realised the truth. Life is always working for me and not to me, including the narcissist. As a result of narcissistic abuse, I'd received the absolute evidence of my painful and faulty beliefs in regard to finances and security and survival. And at first, my ego was kicking and screaming, as it does for all of us when attached to huge inner traumas. But I knew I had to let go of the false beliefs, all of the traumas associated with it, including all of my feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, and not enoughness. All of my feelings of neediness with men, and firmly and healthily becoming a solid source of opportunity, prosperity, and abundance to myself, directly sourcing with the unlimited resources of life through love, inspiration, expansion, and life force itself. Now, here is the thing: the logical mind, where our ego hangs out and plays, wants proof. It wants to play devil's advocate. It wants to put up all the blocks and limitations to stop us becoming unlimited and the true creators that we are. So I had to shift out of myself the beliefs such as, you're too old, you'll never make it up what you've lost, you're not qualified to make good money, and even you're too broken now. And of course, you will have all sorts of limiting beliefs too. And they'll be about the narcissist as well, and what he or she is doing to you, as well as the deep generational DNA, epigenetic, cultural, gender, and childhood traumas that are holding you back. And please know, all of this can be easily found and shifted out with Quantum Freedom Healing when you know how to do that. And when you do that, the miracle starts happening 100% regardless of your situation, and even if it seems impossible. Because creation, which is an absolute force, will find a way to match you. How do we become powerful creators in every area of our life, including prosperity? When we free our inner identity of opposing limiting beliefs, when we feel intense gratitude now, and when we feel abundant, ready, happy to create, trusting of our inner being, and know we are able to show up powerfully, radiantly, confidently, knowing we can back ourselves, make the right decisions, make the right deals, ask the right questions, and know that there is more where that came from. If a deal is wrong for us, we can walk away from it knowing life will keep providing. When we unconditionally feel abundant, healthy, prosperous, expansive, and grateful, without any need for any particular position now or any outcome in the future to come off, we are in our organic state that we easily just are without our internal traumas, and that's where the magic happens. Because in that state, we are creating for the sake of creation and joy rather than need. We are emulating the universe itself. And the universe is not needy, because creation, the universe, whatever you want to call it, God, already is all of it. It needs nothing. When we emulate that, we are drawing on the power and the unlimited permutations of the universe itself, creation itself. Life and well-being is freely flowing through us. That's when true abundance comes. It never comes when we need it, or our identity has an attachment or requirement of getting it, because then we will only ever get more of the need and the emptiness of not having it. And people, like I initially did too, can jump up and down and say, that's ridiculous. Of course I have need. Of course I can't survive. I need to make something happen now to keep the roof on my head and food on the table. Don't try to stop me feeling needy, and don't talk to me about this inner work and getting into any particular state to make it happen. I don't have time. So if you're in that state, as I was initially in my breakdown when everything broke, I was absolutely in that position too. So my absolute suggestion, as it was for me at this time, ask for and accept help. Put your hand up and out and allow life and others to start supporting you in this time. This was huge for me to allow this. I had so many beliefs about not accepting support, and I was the one who had to do all the heavy lifting because I had to earn my position in life. Allowing and receiving support is another way that life will always nourish and flourishes if we get our egos out of the way. And in the meantime, that gives you the buffer of your survival needs being met so that you can be working on your beliefs and your programming, which is the most important mission, to become that expanded, joyous, prosperous person emotionally within yourself without your traumas. And then you're going to start being it authentically in real life in greater ways than you could ever imagine, co-partnering with all of life. There are so many people in this community, including myself, who were wiped out financially, who are now living abundant lives in record time where their needs are gloriously financially met, and some of them are generating serious success in their dream vocations. And none of this actually would have happened if it hadn't been for narcissistic abuse and reprogramming their traumas. And many of these people were past what is known statistically as employable ages. Many of these people hadn't even worked for decades. Many of these people had no qualifications. And how this happened is, as it did for me, making the shifting out of our trauma the biggest priority, which makes space inside us for the opportunities, joy and inspirations to fill us and start unfolding. And that is regardless of what the narcissist is trying to do, even if you're co-parenting with one. Because everything else on our topic of abundance and prosperity will start flowing when we no longer have the trauma on it. You really do have to live it to experience it. And that's the same with so many of these quantum concepts and things that I share with you. Until you start living it, your consciousness may not accept it because it has to be experienced to be known as true and real for you. So within, so without. We get the inner state first, and then life starts reciprocating. So I hope this has given you hope, and I would love you to come over to the blog to have the conversation on this, which is at blog.melanietoniaevans.com. And until the next Thriver TV episode, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there is nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.